Looking at summer homework week 2, we're going to look at number 6. 6 looks to be about the hardest one on this page. So that's what we're going to look at. Now, week 1, you would have done PEDMAs. So I'm going to remind you of that because we're going to have to do it again. I know it keeps coming back. That's the way math works. So week 1, you would have done order of operations. We're going to do order of operations again. Anytime you see parentheses, your first thought has to be either PEDMAs, I have to add them together, or that you have to use the distributive property. As soon as you see any parentheses in any math, those have to be the first two things you think of. Either PEDMAs, it's the first thing I do, or I have to distribute. Today, we're going to have to distribute. So what we're going to look at is I have a parentheses. That means I have to distribute the 7/3 to both the x and the 9/5. We're going to do that. We're going to rewrite and always rewrite. Otherwise, you end up losing important information. So take the time to rewrite it. I promise you, you'll get much better grades in all of math and science if you're always rewriting what you're doing. So I'm distributing the 7/3 to x, which means that I have 7/3 x minus 7 times 9 is 63, and 3 times 5 is 15. Now remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you're multiplying the top numbers and the bottom numbers. Then to simplify this, the only thing that we can do is that we can add the two fractions that do not have a variable, because remember, you can only add things that are exactly the same. So here, I can only add things that do not have a variable. I only have one thing that has a variable. I can't add it with anything else. You're not Harry Potter. You can't magically make things appear or disappear. You have to keep everything the same. So because these two do not have a variable, I can add them together. Now, they do not have the same common denominator, which means I'm going to have to make them have the same common denominator. I can see that 3 and 15, if I multiply this by 5/5, like we did last week, then we can have the same common denominator. So that's what I'm going to do. Notice different colors so that you can see different steps. So 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15. I'm just rewriting everything else that's in this equation. Now, these have the same common denominators, which means that I can add or subtract them. So this is 20 minus 63 is going to be, and I'm going to put it up here, a negative 43 over 15. 20 minus 63, we keep the same denominator, plus 7/3 x. So what we can't simplify it any farther because this one has a variable, this one does not. You can't do anything more with that. So please remember, when you're doing this simplification, you can only add terms that are exactly the same. If they have a variable and it's the same variable, they can be added together. If they don't, it cannot.